Okay, hi besties. There's a few of you on, and we're just going to go ahead and start. I know we're starting a couple minutes late, but I'm very punctual. It stresses me out to keep waiting. So I'm just going to go ahead and start, and other people can join as they want. But I'm so excited to have you guys here. I'm Sarah Oldroyd. I'm the creator of Weekend Home Design. I'm going to be giving you this training today on how to achieve the designer look without having to hire an interior designer. And thanks so much for tuning in. I'm seriously so happy to see a couple of you guys on here already. I'm excited for everyone else to join on quickly here too. And just an FYI, this is live. And so I'm going to be trying my very best to be balancing my presentation and all the information I have and I want to share with you guys, as well as answering comments and questions. I have my chat here on the screen, so I'm going to be watching that too out of the corner of my eye. So please feel free to ask any kind of questions you have during the presentation, anything that you want a little bit more clarity on or any general questions. We're also going to be having a Q&A. I'll talk about that a little bit later. So if you have a specific question about your space or specific question for me, you can go ahead and just put that in there as well. So I am so excited to have you guys here, and I do want to get to know everyone. So those of you that are here, I want to know where you guys are from. So I want to know where you're tuning in from. So go ahead and answer in the chat box where you are all listening from. And I just wanted to give you a quick overview on what we will be talking about today. So I'm going to start with a little bit about me. I'm just going to introduce myself, have you guys get to know me a little bit better. And then I'm going to be talking about the top 6 mistakes that I see over and over again in interior design. There's 6 mistakes that I've also made several times in my life. And we're just going to cover that one a little bit more brief. And then we're going to give you a sneak peek into what the content from Weekend Home Design looks like. And I'm going to be addressing the 6 steps that I use every single day in creating design plans for my clients, and the same 6 steps that you guys can replicate to make those design plans for yourself. And then if you guys are okay with it, because I'm going to be giving away so much valuable information during this training, I'm also going to give you guys an exclusive offer at the end regarding Weekend Home Design, my online course, okay? And at the very end, I'm going to close this out with a Q&A to answer any of your questions that you have regarding Weekend Home Design, or just any general questions you have about your home even. So go ahead and be thinking about those as we're covering these topics as well. So, watching tips for you guys. Now that we're getting started, let's go ahead and remove any distractions. If you're watching from your phone, use your phone for the video only. And I know that it's tempting to be scrolling during these trainings, but I promise we're going to have so many valuable tips and tricks for you. So remove any distractions, be prepared to take notes, and also stay to the end for that exclusive offer that I want to give to you guys as well. So I want to start just with a few questions that I get asked specifically about these trainings. So the first one is, who is this for? So this is for anyone that wants to feel confident in their home, anyone that wants an easy, straightforward answer to be able to know how to design their home. This is for you if you've started, but you're kind of feeling overwhelmed and not sure where to go with your design plans, or possibly if you've bought a few things and you're kind of just wondering how they fit into your space, what to do with them. And then also, this is for you if you've done your fair share of rabbit holing and Google searches and you're just ready to get some direct answers, okay? So again, this is also for you if you're a new homeowner. I know that's so exciting to buy a home, or maybe you just moved into your first apartment and you're renting, but it does get a little overwhelming when you realize you kind of have to figure out the furniture situation. So this is for you. This is for you if you're like a DIYer and you know a little bit about the design world, but you're kind of confused on some smaller details. And then, of course, this is for the newbies. So people that are brand new to the design world, they want as much help as they can get. This training will help every single one of these people. So I want to hear in the chat if you guys identified with any of those. If you didn't, tell me where you're coming from in your situation. I want to hear where you're starting out, if this is a brand new journey, or if you've been on this journey for 25 years or whatever it may be. So go ahead and let me know in the chat where you guys are starting out. And I see that we have someone listening in from California. Hi, thank you so much for coming. Excited to have you here. And then lastly, just really quickly, how long is this training going to be? It is an hour long, roughly. And no, I'm not going to be pitching you the entire time on my product. I am going to be sharing a ton of information and a ton of content from Weekend Home Design. And so just make sure that you're ready to take notes. I'm not going to go through it very slowly. I want to have every single minute jam-packed with information. So we're going to have a fast pace here with lots of information, okay? So without further ado, I want to go ahead and just introduce myself and have you guys get to know me a little bit better. And hi from Missouri. Thanks so much for tuning in. Um, First off, my name is Sarah Oldroyd. I am 26 years old and I'm based out of Utah. I grew up there with my family. In 2021, I graduated with my interior design degree and I spent over 80 credited hours drafting floor plans, designing both commercial and residential buildings, and preparing construction documents. And that's not to mention the hundreds of hours I spent on the homework and the non-credited hours outside of school working on those projects. And then after graduating, I went on to work with a residential home builder called Arrive Homes. And I spent over a year there guiding their clients through the design process from the very beginning to the very end. Arrive Homes is a semi-customizable home builder, and so their clients are able to customize their floor plans. You're able to move walls, you're able to add in square footage, you're able to completely customize the exterior. And so as one of the designers there, we're expected to have all the architectural information and knowledge to be able to assist and help those clients through that process. So that was a great experience. I loved working with Arrive. I left working with Arrive about after a little over a year because I had a baby. And during that time, I transitioned into working for a company called Havenly. They're an online design company. Basically, Havenly helped connect me with clients, and then I designed their homes for them. At Havenly, I primarily focused on just the interior furnishings of the home. So the layouts, the furniture, helping people develop their style, and helping them understand what their home could be. And I spent hours doing, again, floor plans, mood boards, and then doing a 3D rendering image to help those clients get a really clear view on what their home could look like. During the same time, I also started my own design company, Hem and Live Designs, and I started taking on my own personal clients, and I've continued to do so. So in the past 3 years, I've designed over 100 homes and ultimately helped over 100 people feel joyful and excited about their environments. And I have spent countless hours. I don't even want to try to count how many hours I spent on floor plans, mood boards, and just the overall design process in general. And trust me when I say that I have nailed down an effective and result-driven system to be able to go through this design process. And lastly, in the past 3 months, I've gained over 20,000 followers on Instagram. And I've done this by sharing my opinion and even the unpopular ones on Instagram and running through the same system that I'll be teaching you guys today, but obviously in bite-sized pieces for Instagram. So in a nutshell, I have learned what it takes to create high-quality design plans and how to align those plans with the individual's needs. And I'm so excited to be able to share that information with you guys right now during this training. So today I do teach a method that is reliable, repeatable, and effective, and I get to work with amazing people and clients just like you guys. But before I was doing all of this, I was starting in the exact same place that many of you are probably starting in. I wanted to know what my style was. I wanted to know how to style my home. I wanted so deeply to feel peace in the space that I lived in. I did not feel that. I just walked into my home and it was kind of like, annoying. Like I didn't really like it. And I wish that there was a way that I could learn all of this information overnight. But I was starting with zero experiences. And zero understanding of the design world. So let me know in the chat if you guys relate to that at all. Maybe you guys are a little bit more advanced than I was, but that's where I was starting. And so how did I get started into interior design? My love for design goes so much deeper than just like making things look pretty and having them look beautiful. I truly believe that we're influenced and inspired by the things that we surround ourselves. Growing up, this is a little picture of me. Growing up, I grew up in a conservative family of 11 people, so there's 9 kids. And growing up in a big family like that, you learn important life skills, and one of them is just to make the most out of what you have now. And as a child, I always felt passionate about creating. I loved art, I loved reading, I loved organizing. I wanted to grow up and be an author. And I've always known that I've had this ability to create, but I didn't know how that was going to play out into my life. Years later, I find myself moving into my first apartment with my husband. I'm recently married, and I'm also trying to decide on my life path, basically on my major and what I'm going to put my career in. And at the time, I was pursuing a degree in communications, and I just felt so blah about it. I chose that one because honestly, that was the quickest degree that would get me through school the fastest. So I was just kind of doing a random one. I didn't really know exactly what I even wanted from my life. And as I'm transitioning into this new role as a wife and a homemaker, I realized quickly that the furniture situation is kind of falling on my shoulders, mostly just because I cared more than my husband did. But we bought all of our furniture off of Facebook Marketplace, and every single piece that I would bring home, I could just immediately tell, like, this is not working. And you can kind of see here, like, the design development from the very beginning where we're starting with to kind of where we ended up with. But even then, it didn't feel like it was working, and there was just I didn't do it to scale. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more here. But despite that, I went back to my roots and just made do with what we had at the time. And we learned to enjoy our sofa that was too big, and our chairs that were too big, and our rug that was too small, and it was okay. While still figuring out my major, I honestly felt like I was trying to figure out who I was even as a person. And I randomly had the thought to look into an interior design degree. And when that thought came to me, I was like, this is it. I know this is it. And so shortly after that, I found myself applying to the interior design program. And to apply, the school sends you kind of like a trial client. You have to develop this entire design plan for them. And I had spent over 15 hours on that application, and I wanted to get in so bad. And I didn't tell hardly anyone that I was applying. I told a few family members and my husband, and primarily because I was so nervous and afraid that I would not get in. And so I just wanted this so bad. And so a week later, I got an email saying that I was accepted to the program. And just like that, I was finally off on my design career. So during school, I spent most of my time drafting floor plans, learning architectural and construction codes, drafting by hand, and drafting with several online softwares. And I absolutely loved every single aspect about it. I loved the structure that creating floor plans offered, and I loved the creative outlet that I had in designing them. And so before graduating, I knew that I wanted to go work with a home builder. I wanted to primarily focus on residential for the first few years of my design career. So I'm still in school. I decided to apply to this company, Arrive Homes. And again, it was one of those aha moments when I found their name. I was like, okay, this is so it. This is such a good fit for me. I know this is the direction that I want to do. So again, I'm so nervous. I'm just crossing all fingers and toes that I get in. And soon I find myself going in for a second, a third, a fourth follow-up interview. And I'm sure you already know, but I finally got that call that I was hired, and I was seriously so shocked. I was so excited, and I was just shocked because I felt so underqualified, honestly. And this was an important life lesson that I learned is even if you feel underqualified and you don't feel like you know what you're doing, just move forward and just get to that next step. It doesn't have to be the right one, but just start moving forward. And that has helped me in so many different aspects in my life as well. But ultimately, my passion for interior design truly comes from my strong belief that we are deeply influenced by the things that we surround ourselves with. Our environment can inspire us, it can change us, and it just has such an effect on who we are as a person. And my purpose is to help other people change their environment so they can feel that peace, that calm, and joy in their environment. And I learned something new a couple weeks ago that in our bodies we have 11 million sensory receptors, which is crazy just to think about alone. But of those 11 million, 10 million of them are dedicated solely to our sight. And I thought that was absolutely crazy that all of those are dedicated to our sight alone. And so that just reconfirmed to me how important it truly is to know how our environment affects us and how we can develop that design style so that we have that calm and that peace in our life. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get to the next slide here, but it's just going a little funky. There we go. So, and ultimately, I believe that our process in interior design and developing those designs is an ongoing journey, and that's totally okay. Let it be a journey. Okay. So I have gone through this entire life journey with you. I've explained my entire life story to you, and I'm finally finding fulfillment in my day to day. And I finally have a passion that I'm able to talk about and that I'm inspired by. And through that journey, I've made lots of mistakes, and I want to talk about the 6 mistakes that I see over and over again when it comes to interior design. So, mistake number 1 is feeling unsure where to start, so you choose not to start at all. This one is such a hard one. I understand that kind of feeling of like just you're like in freeze mode almost, and you don't know where to begin, and you don't want to take the wrong step, and you know you're going to invest all this time and money, and like you have to have the outcome be what you want it to be. And so I get that it's hard to feel like you don't want to start forward and you don't want to start moving forward. But my advice to you is just to get going. And so Commit to yourself, give yourself that permission that it's okay and that you can move forward today and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have it all figured out today, but let's just get going. Mistake number two is you have the wrong size area rug. And these mistakes are not in any specific order, just so you know. Um, so the wrong size area rug, when you have the right size, it brings a well-balanced anchor into the room. And having a rug that is too small actually makes your space feel uninviting, and a rug that is too large can actually make the space feel smaller. So the two tips I have for planning rugs in your space is option one is to have the furniture completely sitting on top of the rug. This is kind of a high-end look. This is a great option if you're wanting to kind of just have that huge anchor in the space. This is a great option. If you're wanting to go with a more affordable option, I would say to have a rug where at least every single piece of furniture has to have at least their front leg sitting on top of it. So give at least around 6 inches of rug underneath each piece of furniture. This again just allows the rug to feel like it's actually filling the space rather than just kind of floating around in the middle of your space. Obviously, rug size depends on your room size. I would say the most standard rug sizes for living rooms are either an 8 by 12 or an 8 by 10 or a 9 by 12. But again, do it depending on the size of your room. Mistake number three is that there's no focal point. This one is a big one. So focal points are huge. I can go on and on about focal points, but they're basically a fundamental component of an interior design. And when someone walks into a space, naturally we want a place where our eyes can land. And this is where a focal point comes in. It's just kind of like a landing zone or a big place or a big attention getter for the person that walks in. And it just feels so calming to walk in and kind of just know what you're supposed to be looking at. So some examples of focal points include windows that have beautiful views, fireplaces, architectural elements in your space if you have like a very detailed home. You can use large pieces of furniture as a focal point, or you can even create a focal point if your home doesn't naturally have one. I would say most places or most living rooms, most of the time, do have a focal point. If it doesn't, go ahead and create one. You can do a large mirror, you can do gallery walls. There's plenty of ways that you can create a focal point. And it's just a really great function. And what I would suggest is to arrange your furniture in a way that it is surrounding the focal point, so that when you're sitting in your furniture, your eyes are just naturally guided to that focal point. And that's just a very natural way to put some emphasis on that focal point. Okay, mistake number four is lack of harmony. So harmony can be achieved by focusing on 1 to 3 unifying elements throughout your space. But first of all, let's talk about what it feels like to not have a lack of harmony. I want you to think about a room in your home. I'm sure we all have a room like this, or a space, and think of a space that feels cluttered, chaotic, or random. And I want to hear in the chat, I'm actually kind of curious where that space is. I know exactly where mine is. It's in the kitchen, and there is just no harmony in there. There's no function in there either. But one reason that your space feels like that is probably because there's a lack of harmony. And so how you achieve that harmony, like I said, is focusing on 1 to 3 unifying elements that can be applied throughout the space. So, for example, if I loved like a navy blue color, what I would do is probably purchase a navy blue sofa to put in the middle of my living room, have that be a large accent piece, a large statement piece. And then you want to make sure that you also have that same element applied several times. So have like a navy blue candle on the coffee table, or have a navy blue book in the entryway in the room next to it, and have that same element that you're trying to repeat, have it be in that same space over and over and over. And the reason being that you do this is because as a viewer or as a person that walks in, it makes that decision feel intentional. It's like, okay, yes, they made that decision over and over and over. I know that they love that. It's part of their home. It's part of who they are. So you can go ahead and choose like 1 to 3 elements that you want to focus on in your home. It could be colors, like I said, it could be textures, it could be patterns, it could be shapes, or it could be really anything that you just want to repeat over and over in your home to create that harmony. Mistake number 5 is faulty beliefs. Okay, or the idea that you don't have an eye for design, which this makes my little designer heart so sad to hear. It is not true, and don't sell yourself short. The truth is that everyone is capable of designing their home with the right tools. If I tried to go out and change my oil in my car today, I would not have the first clue where it would be. I don't even know where the oil is stored. That's what my husband checks when we go to the gas station every time. That's like on him. I don't know where it is. But I do know that if I educated myself, if I did a little work and did a little research, if I found some resources or people or tools that could help me, I could definitely achieve my goal of being able to change the oil in my car. And it's the same thing with interior design. You just need the right tools, you just need the right resources. And of course, I do believe that maybe some people are a little bit more naturally inclined when it comes to interior design, but that does not mean that it's not a skill that you can develop, that you can't develop. And so, give yourself permission to go ahead, take this journey. You can do it. I promise you can. Mistake number 6 is purging, and I feel like people don't purge enough, me myself included. And so, hear me out on this one. I know that the goal for interior design and likely for you is to create an environment where you feel peace, calm, and joy. So get rid of the things that don't check all 3 of those boxes. We all have furniture that's hand me down. We all have decor that was given by our great Aunt Mary or whoever it was. And some of those things are prized possessions, but some of them kind of just weigh us down with guilt. So if you have one of those guilty objects in your home, you know, that one china set that grandma gave you or whatever it is that you don't like, get rid of it. And why make this decorating mistake? Why have something in your home that doesn't bring you that joy and that you don't resonate with? So repurpose, donate, or throw away anything that doesn't bring you joy. And let's start with like kind of a fresh palette here. Okay, so now we've covered what not to do, and we've covered the 6 mistakes in making it that I see people make all the time in interior design. So let's talk about what we do. So this is introducing that 6 steps that I've been talking about this whole time. And let's go ahead and just jump into step number 1. So when you're starting your interior design journey, the first place that you start with is identifying your style. And this one is such an easy one to skip over. I think it's really easy just to kind of replicate what looks good, what other people are doing, and what kind of just, you know, flows together. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's your style and that you identify with it. So you want to find some inspiration, like a picture of someone else's home, or it could even be a place that you travel to. It could be literally anything. And it just, what you want to think is like, yes, this is so me. This is like me in a home. If I was going to describe myself, this is what it would look like as far as like a home. Okay, so we want to start out with finding some inspiration. And one quote that I love, Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And we are so deeply motivated by our dreams and the visions on what we want. So my advice is to get clear of what you want. And one concern that many people bring up to me is like, okay, well, awesome. How do I know what I want though? I don't even know what my style is. How do I find inspiration if I don't even really know what I'm looking for? Which is a valid concern. I get that. So think to yourselves, what room in your home is designed best? Okay, what room do you feel like is the closest effort or the closest thing you've gotten to a design that you enjoy and that you find peace in? Okay, pay close attention to those characteristics. I want you to ask yourself these questions. Think about, does the sofa have rounded or square arms? Does it feel a little bit more modern or traditional? Do you prefer a space that's filled with decor and decorative objects or one that is more minimal and statement oriented? What do you not like about that space? What feelings or vibes do you want to experience when you walk into that space? So really consider the characteristics that your space has right now and make a list of those characteristics and really consider what you like and what you don't like about those things, okay? And I would also recommend to you to take a style quiz after this webinar. I'll email everyone that was on my favorite style quiz. This one's a great one. It's really straight to the point. But at the end, you're going to get a result saying like, oh, you're traditional or whatever it is. If you don't necessarily identify with the label it's going to give you, that's totally okay. But go ahead and read the characteristics that it explains to you and make sure that you are identifying with those characteristics. Once you get really clear on what characteristics you like about different styles, then you can take the time to further develop that style and really be able to identify with it. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is identifying your color scheme. So think about this. Have you ever considered how specific colors have an effect on your emotions? Okay. What do you think of when you see the color yellow or maybe the color red? Psychologists have studied the emotional reaction in our brains when we see different colors, and color plays a huge and large role in the spaces that we create. So let's go ahead and test this out. What words, go ahead and enter in the chat here, what words would you use to describe this room? What words would you use to describe this room? And what words would you use to describe this room? So, one thing that I do want to point out that is so interesting to me is all of these rooms are made up of the same components. They have architectural details, they have furniture in them, they have walls, they have floors, they have all of the same things. But simple details like texture, pattern, color, rounded arms or curved arms, rounded or square arms in the sofa, these small details make the biggest difference in your space. And it's so interesting to me that something as simple as the color or the shape of your furniture has such a different feel into each of these spaces. So keep that in mind as you are developing your style and developing your color palette. And ask yourself these questions. What feelings do I want to experience when I walk into my space? What colors do I never get tired of? Are there any dominant colors in my closet that I always seem to be reaching for? Mine, I have been telling everyone I'm in my color era, so I feel like there's lots of pinks and purples in my closet right now. I don't feel like I can necessarily do that in my entire home, but it will help you and give you an idea as to what colors you gravitate towards. So your to-do here is to determine your dominant, your secondary, and your accent colors and what those will be through one space, so through one room and throughout your entire home. I can also send you guys in that same email. I have a little freebie that has all of the best colors that I've found over my years of an interior designer. And these are specifically paint colors. So if you're kind of stuck on that, I'll send you that freebie as well. Okay, and someone in the chat said that they are renovating a huge home and they're feeling very overwhelmed, and this is their third renovation. Renovations are so hard. I love them, but it does get overwhelming with every little detail. So I hope that you'll be able to find the piece that you're hoping through this forever home. That'd be awesome for you. Okay, the next step is space planning, and this one is the biggest pitfall I see with people making. And this this one is a big one. We can cover so much information, but I'm going to try to give you as much information as I can in the time that we have. But the most common struggle I see with my clients is just their layout of the space, where to put the furniture, how to arrange it. And before we can begin to talk about layout, I do want to cover two design principles that are extremely important and make such a difference, which are scale and proportion. So scale refers to the relationship between a piece of furniture and the room it's in, okay? So think about the room size you have and the furniture size. Proportion refers to the relationship between furniture and other furniture and decor that it's around. So let me explain those both a little bit more in this example. Let's say I have a huge living room, like it is ginormous, it is castle status, like it's big. And the only piece of furniture that I have in it is a small love seat and then two little chairs next to it. One, obviously that's not functional. There's not going to be very many places for people to sit. But two, when you walk into that room, you can immediately tell that the scale is off, especially with such a dramatic example. But you can tell that the scale is off when you have this huge space and a tiny little sofa. The same thing applies to proportion. Let's say, again, I have that tiny little sofa, but I have a ginormous coffee table, like an oversized one. Again, that's not functional because I don't have enough spots for people to even sit on the sofa, let alone use the coffee table. But the relationship between the sofa and the coffee table, again, is off. So when you are working through your layouts, consider and keep in mind scale and proportion. Those play a huge, huge role into the layouts and what you are creating when it comes to the layout. Another tip I have for you when figuring out your layout of your space is don't forget to use Google as a resource. I Googled living room layout examples, and there's really great resources. I just pulled a couple from the internet here. And if this is especially beneficial if you have just like a pretty standard or straightforward living room that has like the fireplace, that has maybe an open concept behind or whatever it is. If it's just kind of straightforward, these are great options to give you some ideas on how you can arrange your furniture. I love this one here to the right because it does include like, okay, here's the fireplace, on this picture to the right-hand corner, it's like the kitchen is behind that sofa. It gives you a little bit more of an orientation as to the rest of the floor plan around that room. But don't forget to use Google as a resource. It's a really great thing. Okay, and then I wanted to talk about this layout as well. So not only do you have to consider the furniture in the space and filling that space, but you also want to consider the negative space around that. So basically where there's no furniture. The reason why you want to consider that is because where there is negative space, that's where your traffic flow will be. Or traffic flow means where people are going to be walking or entering the rooms and getting around in that space. So you want to take into consideration that human factor, how much space feels comfortable to be able to walk through and pass by this one area. I love in this example, you can see the front door is right there off to the left. As you walk into that living room, there's plenty of space where someone could walk in between those two chairs, circle around that little space, and then exit again. Same thing, you're not bumping into that little entryway option that they have with the little sofa. You have plenty of space to pass by, walk around the dining room table. There's plenty of space. So when you're considering your layout, also consider not only the furniture and how it's being arranged, but the negative space around it. And the best way to be able to figure out space planning is through using tools, okay? So one great one is called SketchUp, and another one is called Home Styler. Those are both free. They're online softwares that you can use. Anyone can use them. They're pretty easy. They're straightforward to learn, and you can draw in your floor plan, and then you'll be able to know what the layout of your space should be. So use those tools. If you're a little hesitant to use like online things, go ahead and get old school. Go get graph paper, write down and draw out your floor plan, measure out the little squares on each one and figure that all out. And my biggest tip to you is to truly visualize the space. Put yourself in that floor plan and consider how it will feel when it's taking, real life form, how it'll feel to walk around that space. Okay, step number 4 is shopping. I want to know if you guys have ever experienced this before. So let's say you're gifted $100 for your birthday. I'm gifted that every year from my father-in-law. It's like my favorite gift. So easy, love it. But let's say after you have like this money or whatever, your budgeted amount, you start doing a little online retail therapy. Okay, so you're scrolling through, you're adding a few things to your cart, just kind of browsing. And then you're like, okay, yeah, I went through everything I wanted to. Let's go ahead and see what my cart is looking like. You go to your cart and somehow you have over $800 in there. You have like 20 items or whatever it might be. And you're just kind of wondering like, okay, how did that add up so quickly? Let me know if you've ever experienced that before. I experience that so often, and it really is so hard to stay on budget when you are shopping. And consider this even when you're shopping for a home, what a larger scale that is, and how easy it is to go over budget when you are shopping. So, here's my tip to you is to really focus on one room at a time. I know it kind of snowballs especially if you're doing like a refresh or a renovation in your home. It's like you do one area and then it kind of just like snowballs into different rooms or different areas of your home. But focus on one room at a time. And for this example, let's say I'm going to be working on my living room. I want to refresh. I need to kind of just update it. It's old, it's whatever. So write down every single thing that you need within that space. So I'm going to need a sectional. I'm going to need throw pillows. I'm going to need a coffee table. I'm going to need lamps. I'm going to need a rug. I'm going to need every little detail. Write it all down on a huge list, every single thing that you can think of. After you've written that all down, arrange it in the order that is most important to you. So for me, if I was going to do this exercise, I would say purchasing a sectional is my number one ticket item. I'm willing to spend the most money there. It's so important to me to have a sectional that's comfortable, it's functional, it fits in the space, and I'm going to like it for a long, long time. So I'm willing to spend a lot of money on a sectional. The next thing for me would be like an area rug. I personally use rugs to anchor all of my designs. I use them to design the entire room around the area rug. And so that's the next biggest ticket item. And kind of go down the list and really consider what is most important to you. This will create your what's next list. So you can know exactly what you're shopping for next. You can get familiar with the budget that you have for each of those items. And that way you're not kind of doing it out of order or you're spending too much money on things that when you really sit down and get honest with yourself, that they're not as important to you as some of the other items. So that's my advice to you when it comes to shopping. Okay, next one is mood board. And shopping and mood boards go hand in hand, and you'll see why pretty quickly here. So let me ask you if you've ever just wished that there was a way that you could know if something looked good in your house without ever purchasing it. And I can tell you there is a way, and it's through creating a mood board. So mood boards take on lots of different shapes. This one I love that they did like a color palette, they did some inspiration images, and then some key pieces of furniture. This one's a little bit more developed as far as the furniture. They're kind of moving on to decor and lighting options. I love that they included this inspiration image here as well, so they can kind of go back and check and making sure, okay, I'm still on point. I'm still going with the vibe that I've determined is my style, and that's still flowing here. And then this last one is great when you have when you arrange the furniture in a way that it will be arranged in your home. So this is great because it gives you a really strong visual on what your space will look like. So for example, going back to knowing if something's going to look good in your home before you purchase it. Let's say I've been eyeing that chair and I just need to know if it's going to work with my rug that I purchased a couple months ago. Go ahead and create a mood board. If you don't do the full thing with like all of the furniture, even just placing the rug and the chair next to each other will give you a really strong visual as to whether or not those are going to look good together, whether or not they're on the same color tone, whether or not they're the same style. And it just gives you that opportunity and ability to see if something looks good together before having to go to the store and purchase it and then return it if it doesn't work. So again, mood boards are so helpful because it just helps you make those informed decisions. The more specific you are with a mood board, the greater chance you will have of executing that successful design. So I get really down to the details with my mood boards because it just helps me visualize that much more what I want in my space. So your to-do is to create a mood board. Don't forget about doing that. They're so beneficial and honestly, they're so fun. I love that part of the design process. Okay, and step number 6 is styling. So the best way to display who you are as a person when it comes to interior design is through those styling details. And I wanted to share with you guys a styling formula that's like a no fail. It works every single time. It brings so much dynamic and character into the space. So step number 1, and this doesn't have to be in any particular step, but make sure that you have these 3 elements is number 1 is have something fresh. So whether or not that's faux greenery, like it doesn't have to be real, just have some kind of plant or some branches or something that brings that life into that space. It can be real flowers that you picked up from the supermarket earlier that day, or it can be as simple as something like a painting of a landscape or something that has a print of flowers or leaves on it or something like that that brings that life into the space. Number 2 is a personal item. Display who you are. Let's say that I am like obsessed with Danish china and I got something from Denmark when I was with my family or I found one in a thrift store or whatever it is. Bring those little elements into your home. If I'm trying to style a coffee table, put that on the little coffee table so that every time I walk by, I get that sense of joy of like, I just love that thing so much. It's so cute. Okay, and that's a really great way too for other people to walk into your home and just understand who you are as a person. And then lastly, something that is handmade. And I'll go ahead and kind of extend this over to something that is, um, sorry, I got distracted. I just saw someone enter a question in the chat and they said, how do I create a mood board? Is there an app I use? I personally use Photoshop. I know not everyone knows how to use Photoshop. I just learned that when I went to design school, so I'm most familiar with that. But I've also created mood boards on Google Slides. That one is such a great resource, and on Canva. So really any platform that allows you to bring in several images and layer them on top of each other, that's all you need. Another tip, when you are bringing those images in from the websites that you're downloading them from or saving them from, type into Google background remover and you can drop those images in and it takes the background away. So it takes that white away from like the chair or whatever it may be, so that when you're layering, you're not having like a bunch of like white squares layering on top of each other. So that's what I usually use. Okay, sorry, I got distracted by that question. Thank you for asking it though. And so then the third step with the styling formula is something that is handmade. So bring in something that is natural or like kind of a one of a kind thing. So it can be something that you thrifted at a flea market. It could be like a large piece of wood that you found or that you bought, and just that kind of, again, that one of a kind handmade feeling. And by applying all 3 of these things into any space, it really brings, like I said, so much dynamic and so much character into the space. Okay, so, and last thing to keep in mind, there are lots of design rules and principles that feel aesthetically pleasing to the viewer. So for example, if I'm trying to style my coffee table, keep in mind, for example, that you want to have different heights between your items. Have at least 3 different heights between all of the objects. And this allows the objects to complement one another instead of compete. If I just am creating objects that are just in a straight line, it almost is like hard to process what's going on. And so you want them to have at different heights so that they complement one another and they highlight each other's differences while being all different. Okay, so now we've kind of covered all of the information. We've talked about what not to do and what to do. And now I want to talk to you guys a little bit more about weekend home design, which is how we do it. And I want to give you guys an idea of the full program and what that includes. And for anyone that's enjoyed my teaching style or have found value out of this webinar and would like to know more, this is kind of the time to listen. And again, this training is only about an hour long, give and take. And so weekend home design is over 6 hours. So you can imagine how much more in depth we go with each one of these principles. And so this is how it works. This is weekend home design. It's basically to help you achieve that designer look without having to hire an interior designer. And I have an entire section dedicated to learning your design style. So I call this Inspire Yourself. I help you identify your personal style. We talk about the top 10 interior design styles and all of their characteristics and why they are important to you. And we talk about how you can apply those into your space. And I also personally feel like most of the time people identify with more like 1 to 2 design styles. So we talk about how to blend more than one style into your space. For the next section, Tasty Color, this is obviously all about creating a color palette. So this is solely dedicated to help you understand what your color palette will be. We go in depth about the psychology of color and interior design, what emotions are provoked when you see certain colors, how to achieve those emotions. And I also talk about how to find that dominant, that secondary, and accent color, as well as the proportion and how you should apply those into your space. I think people get a little confused when they're applying an accent color, like how much of an accent color you should have in your space, how often that should be seen. So we talk about the proportion as well when it comes to the order of the colors. And game plan is all about the space planning. Okay, again, this one is so important. We go in depth about scale and proportion interior design. I give you a step-by-step process on how to space plan and how to create a layout for your space. And I use real life examples from past clients and their floor plans in doing so. So they're not just like a basic kind of one example. And the biggest thing with this one too is I provide a full walkthrough tutorial on how to use Home Styler, how to draw a floor plan, how to create a layout, how to get a 3D view of your space, and how to create that complete floor plan, and how you're able to play around with that layout and really determine what is going to be the best thing for you and your situation. The next module is Visualize the Vibe. We specifically talk about mood board creation. We talk about the benefits of mood board. And again, I give you a full walkthrough on how to create a mood board, what I use, the best tricks that I use in creating a mood board. Sorry, I'm stumbling on my words because I've been talking for so long. So that one's a really great one. And then lastly, we talk about shopping. And so it's so hard to shop effectively online when there's hundreds of thousands of different vendors that you can shop from. And so we talk about specifically how to do that effectively, both online and in store. We do a small budget workshop, again, to have you be able to stay on budget when you are shopping. And then again, I give you insider secrets on how to find the best bargains and what vendors to be looking for those kind of one-of-a-kind pieces. Or if you're in a pinch and you want just to find a quick solution, we talk about the full range of like high-end vendors to ones that are just, helping you get by right now. And then lastly is hot tips. So I cover how to style every single surface in your home, from bedrooms, dining rooms, living rooms, and kitchens. And I talk about all of the design principles when it comes to styling them and how to apply those into your home. So not only will you get everything that we just discussed, but there's also more that I've included to help you throughout your journey. And with Weekend Home Design, I share very valuable information, but I wanted to help you apply this information into your specific home. So this is where the bonuses really come in. Bonus one is a style workshop. It is a downloadable PDF worksheet that helps you write out the characteristics and really spend the time to identify your style. The color guide is that paint suggestion sheet that I mentioned earlier. It has all the paint suggestions that I have for wall colors, the order in which you should be painting your house if you're doing like a renovation or a remodel, and again, how to help you choose that dominant, that secondary, and accent color. The zoning method specifically has to do with space planning. So I know that especially now, lots of homes and people have this open concept. And so it's hard to space plan for a room that has no barrier walls or kind of like no envelope that you're trying to keep everything in. And so I specifically go over and cover largely on how to space plan when you are planning in that kind of situation when it's just an open concept. So we cover that, and also how to create a floor plan and the measurement guide. That one's a big one. And the next one is vendor guide. So like I said, there's so many options shopping online, and I've gone through and I've categorized all of the best vendors that I and other designers love, and I've categorized them by style. So if you know that you're modern and you don't want to waste your time shopping through the traditional vendors, I have a full list of all of the modern vendors that you can go to. And again, I've included the top 10 interior design styles and all of their go-to vendors. For the mood boards, I know some people feel a little hesitant to create a mood board, so I've gone ahead and created templates for you. So I've created templates for bedrooms, living rooms, dining rooms, and home offices. That way you're not having to figure out where to put your furniture, how it goes, or how it should flow. I've already done that for you. You can download those templates and just drop in your furniture and go ahead and have it take form and space on the mood board, which is great. The next bonus that we have is a styling formula. I love this one. I've gone through and written down all of the design principles. I've condensed the information, and this is a downloadable PDF that you can use and refer to when you are just styling your home and when you're kind of stuck like, oh, okay, what do I do here? This is a great resource for you. The last bonus is the ultimate cheat sheet guide. This one is a big one. I have created a 28-page document to answer all those burning questions you have. So height relationships, rug sizing, how to hang curtains, what are common measurements, how many pillows should I have in my bed or on my sofa or whatever it may be. I've included all of those answers to all of those burning questions that are so random and that people are constantly coming to me and kind of nitpicking my brain on. So I've written them all down. I've created this huge document. It's such a great resource. And then lastly, as Weekend Home Design is still growing, I love being able to offer coaching. So with this program, you get full access to our Facebook group where you can ask me questions every single day. You can get feedback from other students if you're just wanting like a second pair of eyes. And then we will also be having bi-monthly group coaching calls. So that's every other week where you can get on. It's basically a Q&A. You show me your work, or if you're stuck on something or you're just needing a little bit of help, you come in and we can talk through your space and talk through your design plans, and you can get feedback. Okay, so my whole goal with Weekend Home Design is that I'll be able to teach you these design skills and help you apply them into your home so that you can create your dream environment and apply these same skills from room to room and home to home. And you can do this all without ever having to hire an interior designer. So here are some examples of what some of our members are saying about Weekend Home Design. Renee said, after moving, it seems to take a whole year to figure out where I want to put things and how I want to decorate. I love how Sarah gave me simple decorating rules to follow. With these simple guidelines, I'm able to make my house a home so much faster, and I feel at peace in my home. Quincy said, the way that Weekend Home Design has opened my eyes to the possibility of finding a cohesive style within my home is absolutely amazing. I am blown away by the insight that Sarah brings to interior design. She breaks down each subject into bite-sized pieces, and I'm so happy with the course. It is definitely worth the time and money. Jenny said, this course has transformed my home. If you knew me, you would know that I have always had anxiety about the right way to decorate and knowing what I even want. This course has completely resolved every one of those concerns. It was extremely helpful to be walked step by step through the process, starting with learning what my decorating style is. I never knew that before. The guidelines and tips of styling have been lifesavers. Sarah has been incredibly helpful along the way, answering personal questions when I get stumped. Just yesterday, a friend came over to my house and she commented on how nice it feels and how beautiful it looks. And then she added, it feels like you. That was a huge compliment because it meant that I created my outward living space to reflect my inward self. Finally, so grateful for this amazing course. And then Catherine said, I love a well-designed home, but don't have the time to go through schooling myself. This course has the whole process laid out in an easy-to-follow format. The downloadable worksheets and the ultimate cheat sheet guide have all the info needed to make choices and nail down those details that make it all come together. Being able to chat with Sarah about design dilemmas in my own space is one of the reasons why I decided to try this course. Definitely worth the cost, and I highly recommend it. The process and insider info are so worth it. Okay, so I want to hear, after hearing those testimonials or those reviews, how are you feeling? You're feeling kind of nervous, you're kind of feeling excited. I want to know how you guys are feeling after this whole training, everything we've covered. And we're going to be getting into our Q&A quickly here. So if you're having any questions for me, go ahead and start thinking of them. I'm going to open up that time shortly here. So without further ado, I do want to offer you that exclusive offer that I mentioned earlier in this webinar. And this is how it works. So typically, if I was going to work with you one-on-one, it would be a $500 to $5,000 investment depending on your project size. With Weekend Home Design, you get lifetime access to this program, basically lifetime access to me to be able to apply all of these principles into your future home. And if I was going to put a value on all of this information that I'm providing you with in Weekend Home Design, I would say it was anywhere around $4,100. But you don't have to pay that. And right now I'm currently having it priced at $299. And as an early bird special, I'm actually doing a 15% off right now. So even better. But for those of you, like I've said, that have stayed to the end of this webinar, which go you, I know sometimes they get long. Thank you for staying with me the whole time. I do want to offer to you guys a 30% off of this program for the next 20 minutes. And this is for the first 5 people. So if you've been kind of thinking about weekend home design, if you're interested, if you have any questions for me, let me know if you have those questions and I'll go through and answer them. But now would be the time to purchase if you're kind of on the fence. I do want to have as many of you come to this program as you want and as I'm willing to basically have capacity for. But again, just for the first 5 people in the next 20 minutes, you will get that 30% discount. So while the offer is ticking, I do want to answer some of the questions that I get asked during these webinars. So again, feel free if you have any questions for me. This could be anything as far as like your space, what you want in your space, like anything that you've been struggling with within your own space, or anything that we've covered from this webinar. Go ahead and answer those or type in those questions into the chat now. So, and just to let you know, I'm going to go ahead and open up this offer for the 30%. So if you're interested, there should be a button popping down at the bottom of your screen saying buy now. Go ahead and click on that button. You'll join Weekend Home Design, and then you'll get an email with all the information to get started. So I just want to give you guys a run through of that. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the offer for the next 20 minutes. The first 5 people will get 30% off. And we can go ahead and start covering some of those questions that you guys may have. And while you guys are thinking of them, I do want to cover some questions that I have about weekend home design specifically. Okay, so the first one is, let me pull up my screen here. What do I do if I don't have a background in interior design? You don't need a background in interior design, and seriously, the only qualification that you need is to have a desire and a computer, basically, to make your home feel intentional. So we cover everything in weekend home design, and I give you step-by-step videos and guides throughout the entire process. So don't feel worried. Again, it kind of goes back to that mistake or that faulty belief of, I don't have an eye, that doesn't matter, we can learn it together. Sarah typed in, what do you cover items like backsplash and bathroom tile choices? In weekend home design, I don't, but I would be happy to help coach you on that one-on-one during our coaching. I'm actually going to be creating a second follow-up course with this that applies specifically more to the finishes of the home. So I'm talking about flooring, backsplash, tile, like how to choose basically all of those permanent finishes in your home. I will be putting out a course shortly here on that. But for now, I know a lot of people are going through like the remodel or they're building for the first time. And so they're kind of in that stage. If that's you, that's totally fine. We can cover that during the coaching. This program will still help you when you're kind of further along in the process and developing your furnishings more, like your layout and your furniture. But yes, to answer that question, no, I don't cover backsplash and bathroom tile choices, but we can cover that on one-on-one during the coaching calls. Great question. Another frequently asked question is, okay, I'm not tech savvy. I don't know how to create a floor plan. I can't create a mood board. And trust me when I tell you, it's easier than you think. So if you purchase this course, again, I'm going to give you that step-by-step video guide that walks you through each of those aspects. If you're just simply stuck on them as well, bring those questions to the coaching, and you can ask me. I can walk you through. And again, you just get that one-on-one help with me throughout the entire process. Okay, shouldn't I just hire an interior designer to do it for me? You could. You definitely could. If you want to, hire me. But the cost of an interior design is usually equal to or more the cost of the course. And what I love about this course too is that it truly is teaching you how to apply these principles. And so if you hired an interior designer, yes, they can do it for your home that one time, or yes, they can do it for your room that one time, but you're not able to apply these same principles to future situations. And so with weekend home design, you really get to be able to learn and have that basis so that when you are transitioning into different homes or different situations, you can go through the same process all over again. Again, what if I don't know what my interior design style is? Perfect. We cover that. Of course, we cover that in weekend home design. And I just can't emphasize the importance of this enough to be able to really have a foundation as to what you want and really getting clear with that. We have a whole section that's dedicated to just covering that information. It's so important. And honestly, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised, but there are a lot of people who don't know what their style is. I think that's really common and really normal, and that's totally fine. I think we're all kind of starting out that point one way or another. I know that I started out feeling like I'm bohemian, and now that I look back, I'm like, I am not bohemian, but it's okay. Like, we just go through the process and figure it out. Okay, and again, what if I don't know anything about space planning or how to know if the furniture is the right size for the space? And again, I know I've said this before, but we cover all of that specifically with the Ultimate Cheat Sheet Guide. I've gone through and written down every single dimension that are common for rooms, for furniture, for those walkway paths I was talking about, like little details like that. I have taken the time to write those all down and provide that with you as well. We also talk about all the sizing concerns for beds, rugs, sofas, curtains, everything. So we have a full module on specifically creating that effective layout for you. So again, if you're still nervous about it, I've provided common layouts for each room. I walk through each room. I give you several different examples for your living room. Here are a couple layouts for your dining room. Here are a couple layouts. This is how you figure out if your dining table is the right size. Whatever it is, we cover all of the information for the space planning needs. And again, how long will I have access to this course information? It's for forever and it's yours. And what I love about this is that I am constantly updating the course. And so as I have students and they're asking me questions or they want some more information on a certain subject or specific thing, I update that information and add it to the course. And so when that happens, I put out an announcement, I let you know that it's updated, and then you get that full access as well throughout the entire lifetime that you're a member of the course. Okay, and that's all that I have for you guys. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so happy that you guys came. And if you have any questions or you're just curious or you need some additional help, please go ahead and email me at sarah@hemandlivdesigns.com. Um, Let me know. I'm seriously just so happy to chat with anyone if you guys have any concerns. And again, I just wanted to let you know, like, for that next 20 minutes, you will be having that 30% discounted. I am sending an email to everyone that has signed up for the webinar but has not been able to join live. I know there are a few people that mentioned that they would not be able to be live. That offer is also available to them. Um, but I wanted to make sure that you guys get the first 20 minutes and really be able to take advantage of that. So go ahead, and if you're thinking about it or if you have any questions about weekend home design or any questions at all about interior design, let me know. Email me. I'm so happy to chat with you guys. And I just want to wish you all the best of luck in your design endeavors. And that's all I have for you guys. So thanks so much for stopping by. And as always, let me know if you have any other questions. Okay, thanks so much for tuning in.